Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with Kansas-born, New York City-based jazz saxophonist Ryan Anselmi. He grew up in the blues and jazz tradition of Kansas City, and that's been a big part of his world ever since. He opened up during early May 2020 during the quarantine lockdown about his life and music, what he's been doing lately, the future, and all of that hope, along with much more. Enjoy.
Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, man?
What's up, man? How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Are you in New York?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey City.
Okay. All right. You doing all right?
Yeah, so far so good, man. This is like day 57 hunkered down here, but everything
Man alive.
We're doing all right out here, man.
Cool. Now, you have Kansas City roots, don't you?
Oh yeah, I was born in Paola, Kansas, and basically grew up learning about and playing in Kansas City area. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I know in your bio there was roots, and we'll get into that. But first and foremost, thanks for taking a minute out, especially during this very strange time on the planet.
Yeah, no problem, man.
As a jazz musician, and even as any kind of artist doing live performance, we know the perils and the heartache that's going into that right now. But let's just kind of talk a little bit about what are you doing during this quarantine to creatively get your fix?
It's kind of cyclical, you know, the energy that you put into your craft. There's moments where during this I haven't touched my horn at all, and then there's moments where it's all that I could think about doing. So I think that you know, you kind of have to just go easy on yourself and be open to whatever comes through. And if you don't feel like practicing or shedding or creating something, then and being okay with that end of it, as well as being okay with pouring yourself into creating something that you share online or something that you make with friends or whatever. So really kind of just being flexible and not so hard on yourself right now. That's kind of like what I've been, like my mindset. And then, you know, we're fortunate to have a back patio area, so we're cleaning that up and about to open that for the season. And I've been cooking a lot, and I have my wife and I have an 11-month-old son, Ernest, and so, you know, one silver lining has been that I've gotten to spend so much time with him. He turns a year old on the 18th of May, and I've just gotten to see him grow up, you know, and I wouldn't have otherwise with the schedule and playing and working and everything else. So that's been huge. That's probably been my number one thing, you know.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, and you had an album come out last year, and I'm curious. It's got to be bittersweet. You know, you have people that can get the album and have more time to listen to it, but you can't back any of this stuff live. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, performing online in some capacity, whether it's solo or putting out a video or something, is definitely in the works. It's definitely something that I've been working on in the last few months, is to try to, you know, push it a little bit more online. But, you know, as far as like getting out there and promoting the record that came out, I think that's cyclical too. The record is out, and as soon as we're able to get out ourselves, I'll have something to promote and push, and that I'm proud of, and that sounds good to me, and I'm looking forward to that. I think in some capacity, live music isn't going anywhere. It will change, I'm sure, and we'll just roll with the changes and make the best of it when we can the next time around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all you can do. So
yeah.
Let's go back to the kid from Paola, Kansas. How did you grow up to become a New York City musician?
Sure. Well, I am very, very fortunate to have had a great band program and a private lessons instructor. So David Hodges was my band director, and David Wiggins, and these folks were really huge in my development and my passion, and like I was a band nerd and all of my friends were band nerds. It just kind of, it's where I hung out. And so through that, I kind of got the fire to pay attention and take some private lessons. So I studied with Charles Kessinger and for quite a long time. And then I met a group called the Twin Rivers Dixieland Jazz Band, who were playing down at like the Levee and playing in Lawrence quite a bit. And so they were really instrumental in bringing me to the Kansas City area. I was like 12, 13, and they were bringing me along to play in the back and try not to step in all the rests, And so through those through those experiences, they were great. They were really my musical family. And I met and learned about Kansas City, what it was, who was there, who was playing. I mean, that band used to do parties for this lawyer. His nickname was Topper. I never got his real name, but he lived down near the Plaza area, and he would do a 4th of July party every year. And one of my fondest memories is we would open as like people were coming in and getting drinks, and then I think it was maybe more than one, but I definitely remember this specific time where David Bassi and the City Light Orchestra were playing, and that just blew my mind. I mean, at the time you had folks like Kerry Strayer in the band, Barry player.
Yeah.
I mean, like just really icons of the Kansas City scene at that time in that band. Plus, you had David Bassi, who, in and amongst himself, was pretty charismatic and pretty amazing as a vocalist. So,
oh man,
I got to experience what that was, and then later found out about like Kevin Mahogany was from Baldwin, and he would go to Baldwin every university, and I would see him there during like music festival contests. And then later on, I learned about like Everett DeVan and his sets down at the Majestic, and I learned about what the Union was and how special that room was, and like it just these riches of musical heritage that are just the very fabric of our Western music. So, I mean, Jay McShann and the legend of Charlie Parker and so on and so forth. So that's kind of where I started, and then I was, fortunate enough to get a scholarship to attend Wichita State University in their music program. So I went out west and I studied with Craig Owens and Tom Fowler and Sterling Gray and, a bunch of different people, Rod Martins, who taught me the music industry, but also increased my awareness of what jazz was or what it could be or what music could be in general. And I took a lesson with Dick Oates while I was there, and he was like, hey, if you really want to do this thing, you should come out and try it. Come out east and just see what you think. So I packed up 2005 and a saxophone in a suitcase, and I moved to the Bronx and lived with 9 other folks who I called my friends, and a 2-bedroom. And I was going to school at the New School. So really, and I graduated from New School in 2008. So that was my foothold into the city. That's kind of what got me into the scene and understanding of what is taking place, who's doing what and where and when. Through there, Smalls and Fat Cat and 55 Bar and all those places in the West Village just kind of became my stomping ground, my learning, the lab that I would learn from, and continue to learn from, I've met Junior Mance and James Moody and performed and recorded with Junior Mance quite a bit. In fact, we came back to Kansas City and played the Blue Room in 2009 or 10, something like that. Put out some records with him, and was really fortunate to get to learn from him because he's a direct lineage to Dizzy and Diana Washington and a bunch of people who are part of the fabric of jazz music. And so I'm just trying to carry all that on, a little by little. So that's kind of how I got to New York and kind of my story, I rambled there for a while.
No, you're good. You're good. No, that's what I wanted. So, no, you're good. Tell me how prevalent that Kansas City sound, that Kansas City backbone you got now that you're in New York. How much does that come out that you're playing?
I think it's everything. It's everything. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't think about that, or that I don't like, or I I should dig deeper into the blues, or I should dig deeper into what it means to play the saxophone. I mean, transcribing guitar players just so I could really, or piano players just so I could really dig further into like the harmonic structure of the blues. I think Kansas City is just everything. I don't even know if I have the words, but the fact that I think I'm proud. I'm really, really proud of it, and it's something that I like quietly keep in my back pocket. But I'm there's so many great saxophone players from the Kansas City area, and their names are escaping me now because I'm nervous and we're talking. But I mean, I mean, if I'm in any part of that kind of legacy, I would feel honored. But mostly I'm just trying to run and catch up, But it's definitely in my DNA. I mean, from the barbecue on up, that's where I came from, and I kind of wear it on my sleeve a little bit out here. And I think that the Kansas City scene is respected out here. I mean, you have folks like Peter Schlamm, you have folks like Logan Richardson, and there's quite a scene in Kansas City that does make a wave out here. People know of it. Steve Cardenas is out here, but he has Kansas City in him through and through, and it is definitely in my playing. It's in terms of like the songs I pick, or the music that I'm attracted to, or the folks that I like to work with. I mean, it's everything to me. I sort of stumbled through that one too, but I hope it made sense.
No, you're good. No, that's what I really wanted to get at. I wanted to get at that Kansas City connection. You mentioned Junior Manson. I spent a little time on the phone with him, and there's just a lot of legends.
Really?
Yeah, years ago,
cool.
His wife, I reached
Gloria.
out to her. And with that, yeah, Gloria. Yep. And she was very gracious. In fact, I have a poster hanging in my studio that they had sent me over. I got a bunch of his music, and the one thing about those legends and luminaries is they're almost like the Jazz Jedi Council in Cloud City. They're just kind of up there.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Oh,
It's
absolutely.
like you got Dr. Lonnie Smith, you got Sonny Rollins, you got Junior Mance, you got the Heath brothers, you got all these guys. So what did you learn from them? What did you learn from them that really made you grow and that you remember to today?
Okay. Well, there's a certain amount of respect and admiration that I have for these folks. Of course, everybody does, but I think the things that I learned were really how to be joyous while you're playing. I mean, just remembering back to Junior on the bandstand and looking over, and he is playing. I mean, he's really playing for somebody, and the joy that he would admit, and it's just infectious. And so that's how I'd like to be when I'm playing to the other musicians on stage, is the infectious joy that I felt playing with him. And then, life skills, like making sure you show up on time, making sure that you don't, you watch yourself on the set breaks and how much you imbibe. And, all the stories from the road that he would tell about being with Gene Ammons or Dizzy or whatever. But I think the camaraderie, too, being inclusive, he was very, very good at being inclusive with everyone. Like, everybody's welcome. Come on up. Let's have a great time. And I think at the end of the day, he feels or thought that the music is so much better when the vibe is great on stage. And I think that it's also entertaining to watch when you're having a great time and you're smiling because you're really feeling the joy. That's infectious. That's infectious, and the audience definitely picks up on that. And the love is spread that way. So I think not to sound like a Hallmark card, but that's sort of the basics, and then there was all kinds of like business related things. And, there's a certain way to handle yourself and to be respectful and conscientious of where this music's heritages come from and who is playing the music now and the lineages of this music, and respectful of all of that, and still be a part of it and still create that infectious joy. So Junior was a great role model for me. I owe him everything.
So what do you like best about being a musician?
Traveling and playing. Although right now, maybe here for a little while we won't be traveling so much. But traveling, seeing new places and playing new places, trying new food while we're on the road. That's awesome. That's absolutely everything. But I think it's also, because it's a language unto itself, so you can meet new people and experience new things on stage with people that words, of course, can't express. So I think that that's also like a driving force. And then there's a searching. There's a fair amount of like searching who you are and your place in the universe and how you can try to help or be positive and creating sound waves that help other people feel better or lift them up. So there's kind of all of that happening at the same time, I guess, I
dig it. Yeah. So, speaking of what you like the best about this, we will at some point get back to live music. I mean, it's all about, we're shrouded in ambiguity now, but it will happen. And when it does, what do you hope both musicians and the audience gets from this time away from live music?
Well, I think musicians, I'm not sure, like a blanket statement of what musicians would get, but I think for myself, maybe a time of shedding and reflection, a time of being able to not have to worry about the booking end or the business end, and then it's more focused on the honing of the skill or the new sound you're hearing and trying to develop that. Working with pedals for the first time. I've got a whole floor here full of pedals that this is a new universe that I'd like to explore. So taking that time to develop yourself, musically and explore and kind of get into the laboratory a little bit. And then as an audience member, I think it's maybe being willing to listen to something that you wouldn't normally be willing to listen to. I mean, you're in house and it's day 57 and you're like, I've listened to this. I love Willie Nelson and I've listened to him all day. Now I just want something so totally radical that it'll just completely put me in a completely different mood. So being open to trying someone's music, someone new, someone who's relevant and who's playing and out in the world trying to be a musician. So maybe taking the time to get online and actually check out some of the folks' music, something different and something new. That would be the ultimate awesome thing to see.
My final question for you is this. Everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, that you're the one living your life. Who do you think you are?
That's okay. That's great. Who do I think I am? Well, I am still trying to find that. I'm still trying to look for that. But I'm someone who can show up and play, and I'm someone who I feel like you can get in a foxhole with me, and I'll help you out in that way. But I also feel like I'm just someone who is trying to explore what it all means to be here in the first place, in the universe, and during this time especially. I don't know, that may sound like a little hippy-dippy, but that's kind of, I guess, where I'm at with it,
No, it sounds good. I like it, man. Hey, Ryan, thank you for taking some time out. I really appreciate you opening up during this very, strange, once-in-a-lifetime, hopefully, moment that we're all going through down here.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having a conversation with me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Ryan for his time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.